What do you have now? What do you... Oh, you have a toy. That's fine. He's gonna be so loud in this video. I'm so sorry. Listen, can you not play with a toy on top of a bag, though? That'd be great. That'd be great. How about you come up here with the toy? Play with this string I gave you. Right here. There we go. You may see the blanket mountain behind me moving. Casanova's in a blanket fortress. And he's struggling to get out. Happily so. So I have been thinking about making this video for a few weeks now, and I had planned to make notes and have it be a clear and concise and helpful video. And then the debates happened last night. So plans changed. We're not going to talk about the debates. You don't have to worry about that. I know everyone needs a break from the politics, but I think after the debates and after the chaos, people are going to even more need the original purpose of this video, which is just a kind of check-in, unburdening type of video. Let me back up. So I've been wanting to have discussions with you guys for a while. It's something that we used to do that we hadn't done in quite a bit. So this is a tea chat with my cute new mug. Oh, I love her. It's not tea though. It's Sierra Mist. I just love the little pot-belly shape of it. So cute. Anyway, tea chat is just a time for us to kind of come together, sit down with a nice warm drink, or in this case, ice cold drink. I should have made a warm drink. It's pretty chilly in Michigan today. I'm sitting with a blanket behind me and one in my lap. It's a time for us to come together and just kind of chat about life, about stuff, and have that bit of community. And I have been meaning for a while to have a sit-down talk about just the state of things and how everyone's feeling and kind of check in, because I know this year more than ever, with everything that's going on, either due to the virus, due to the economy, due to politics, obviously, due to violence and unrest, due to all of the extreme weather and all of the damage and uncertainty just across the board worldwide. Amidst all that uncertainty, I think more people than ever are experiencing anxiety and depression than they have before, and are maybe grappling with that. People that aren't used to dealing with that. And so I thought it might be good to kind of talk about how to deal with that, and how to give yourself breaks, how to kind of give yourself self-care and room to breathe so that it doesn't overwhelm you and you don't just spend all day doom scrolling. So some of you won't need this video, and if you don't, that's great. I'm really happy for you. But for the rest of you, if you want to, if you're able to right now, if it's not too much, then grab yourself some tea or some water or a nice little snack and a comfy blanket or whatever it is that keeps you cozy, and let's sit down and just kind of chat for a while. So I first want to acknowledge that you should take everything I say with a grain of salt. Or not a grain of salt, but more of a do as I say and not as I do, because I will recommend in this that you seek help if you know you need it, and take medication. It will probably help you. See a therapist, things like that, that I'm going to be a total hypocritical ass on, because I know these things would help me. I have dealt with depression and anxiety issues literally as long as I can remember. I do mean that literally, like as a child, okay? But it's fully undiagnosed because I don't go to the doctor, I don't see a therapist, I don't take medicine, and I hate the thought of even doing so. Just hard to treat anxiety when the idea of treating anxiety gives you anxiety, right? I know that's something a lot of people face, and I know that it makes a lot of people feel better. And we're not going to get into all the reasons why I avoid it today, because it's not about that, and it's not about me, but just, I'm saying, I know I'm being a hypocrite, and I can't speak from personal experience as far as therapy or medication, because I have no personal experience there. But I do just want to say right off the bat, if things are bad, if they're worse than they've been, or it's been prolonged, you don't have to suffer through that. Like, see a doctor, see a therapist, find a good friend that you can confide in, that you can kind of just vent to and spill your guts to, anything that's going to allow you to kind of take some of the pressure off, I fully not just support that, but push that. I think that you should do those things that I myself put off. That's not the focus of the video though. I just want to kind of get that out of the way as a disclaimer that if things are bad, don't rely on this video, don't rely on just talking to people in the comments, but like seek help. You don't have to go through it, seek help. But for the non-extremes and the not necessarily needing medication levels of anxiety or depression or whatever it may be, I think I have some tips and some things that work for me and that I know work for other people, and I think also just us connecting with each other and talking in the comments can also be really helpful. So bear with me as I ramble, because as I said, I was going to make notes and I didn't. So this is off the cuff. And I'm going to start with one of the most woo of the whole batch, and that is something that I think a lot of people scoff at, but that has helped me tremendously, okay? And that is ASMR. You're on YouTube, so I'm thinking that you're gonna be my people, like you're watching this on YouTube right now. And I know that ASMR doesn't work for everyone, not everyone has the reaction, but if you do have the reaction in your brain, ASMR, whatever it may be, whatever style of ASMR you find you're into, watching that on a regular basis has been life-changing for me, and I actually mean that. So if you're unfamiliar, ASMR is a response that you have to certain sounds or even visual cues, things like people whispering or tapping or scratching on things. Sounds that might get on your nerves if it were in person and just if you're trying to focus on something, you know, someone tapping their nails on the desk might have drove you nuts at school, but someone tapping their nails on something in front of a microphone when you're wanting that, it lights up this part of your brain that just makes your whole central nervous system kind of tingle. Most people feel a tingling. After a while, you might stop feeling that tingling, but the effects still remain of the ASMR, which for a lot of people is it calms you down. So I kind of got into it accidentally. I was familiar with it, and I was familiar with the tingling and thought it was neat, but I, mostly just kind of forgot about it after the first video or two that I had watched. But I was watching a video of this Chinese girl who does like everything. Like, she decides that she wants a couch, so she goes out into the mountains and cuts bamboo and comes back and strips the bamboo down and builds herself a piece of furniture. Like, she's mind-blowing. I'll link the channel below. But watching her gave me such a sense of peacefulness. And I noticed that after kind of having like a little binge of her videos, I slept really well that night, and I don't sleep well ever. So after kind of working my way through like all of her videos, I was like, I need more. Like, there has to be more of this style. And a lot of ASMR videos were popping up on the sidebar, and people in the comments were talking about that she gives them ASMR vibes, and I was like, sure, I'll check out some ASMR. And I literally have not watched ASMR a single day since. It might not do much for a lot of you, but there's so much out there. There's so much positivity ASMR where people just sit and talk to you and tell you that things are going to be okay. I think that could be really beneficial to a lot of people right now. But even just the noises and the kind of white noise static type of thing, I think allows your brain to just shut off for a little bit and reset and calm down. Like, I can feel my blood pressure just lowering. When I watch certain videos or I hear certain people talking, there's a lot of humor in ASMR. There's a lot of like quirky role plays that just get you out of your head. Just for me personally, I've noticed that it has had an impact, and it's been like a kind of domino effect. So watching the ASMR has led me to like some positivity and meditation videos in people, which has led me to kind of stopping some of my bad thought patterns and recognizing when I'm, letting myself go down a spiral or letting myself doom scroll or listening to like the negativity in my head. I'm more aware of not only that it's there, and that I should stop it, but also my ability to stop it. I think you can learn a lot of techniques, but also just having the reinforcement of it, I guess. Like, say there's a lot of Reiki ASMR, for example, and I think whether you believe in Reiki or not, I think the sort of reinforcement of the things that all of these Reiki practitioners in the ASMR videos talk about, you know, taking care of yourself, being in touch with yourself, letting things go, clearing your mind, all of that, I think just constantly being reminded of those things, it starts to hopefully limit your bad habits of dwelling on the negative if you're an anxious person or a depressed person, and helps you build the foundation of giving yourself grace and space. I don't know, I'm sure there are like studies and people that have talked more eloquently about this than I have, but I'm just saying I think it's helpful. And as I kind of touched on there, I think that things that it has led to for me, like meditation, are also very helpful and things that you should maybe look into if you're experiencing anxiety for the first time or more strongly than you normally do. There are a lot of guided meditations on YouTube. There are a lot of apps that do meditations or teach you about it. There are a lot of free books. If you're here in the States and you have a library card, you can download an app called Hoopla, which gives you access to free ebooks and a bunch of other things. But among them, I've noticed there's a ton of self-help, including meditation and, you know, books specifically about reprogramming your brain and almost self-therapizing. There are podcasts, there's all kinds of stuff out there. So I would recommend giving it a try, even if you think that you can't meditate or you don't see the point. I think, and it is hard in the beginning, I will say, especially if you're an anxious person, your thoughts tend to race and you tend to have trouble shutting off your brain. You know, you just keep focusing on something, and if you get that out of your head, it's the next thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing. I think that's a pattern for a lot of people. One good kind of intro to meditation video that I found recommended that you just acknowledge the thoughts when they come in. You just state it. So thought about bills comes into your head, and you just kind of acknowledge in your head money or worry or something. You just assign it a word. You say it, and then you go right back into whatever it is that you're using to focus yourself, whether you're just saying in your head, breathe in, breathe out, or counting, or whatever it is. When the thought comes in, acknowledge it, and then go right back into that. And that actually really did work and allowed me to kind of develop a baseline for meditation for myself, whereas before it had been really hard. Now I can do it really easily, and even though I have chronic pain in my back, and sometimes sitting up straight for meditation can really hurt, sitting so still, so straight for so long, I've gotten to the point now where I can actually get past that pain, and though I still feel it, I don't have to acknowledge it as much, and I can go into the meditation and clear my head. So I think, you know, people say it's a practice. They call it a practice for a reason. It's not going to be perfect the first time you do it, and it is going to feel a little weird, feel like a little bit of a struggle to keep your brain directed where you want it to go, but it does get easier, and the more you do it, the more natural it feels. And I mean, studies have shown forever how much it helps with blood pressure and anxiety and mental clarity and things like that. Even if you're not doing it on a regular basis, having the techniques in your toolbox is very useful because you can do it anywhere. Even if you're, you know, out in public, you know, you're on public transit and you're just, you know, feeling anxious, feeling that anxiety rise. I mean, it's not like you have to pop a lotus position and start oming in the middle of the subway, but you can just close your eyes for a minute, or even keep your eyes open if you're afraid of, you know, having your eyes closed around strangers. But you can still take the time to focus on your breathing and just recenter yourself. Once you kind of understand how to do that with your body and understand how helpful it is, you can fall into it much easier, and it can help you and at least kind of tide you over until you can get where you need to be or get into the state of mind you need to be. So just something that I myself have been trying and working on, and that I think could be beneficial, and I recommend to anyone who is struggling right now. Just try it. There are tons of guided meditations. Some of them, especially if you're like me and are very skeptical by nature and very not woo. I like the idea of a lot of woo just for quirkiness, but like I don't believe things. But my kind of interpretation of things, and of all woo for that matter, is that they don't have to work the way they're stated to work. So you don't have to believe that a crystal is going to calm you down, that, you know, it's got some kind of like vibrational energy or whatever they say, but you can use it as a focus, you know, same as someone who's praying might use a rosary as a focus, or you might have a lucky rabbit's foot, or whatever, you know, a piece of jewelry that someone gave you when you were a kid that means something to you and you tend to hold it in moments of stress and it calms you down. That's a focus. So what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. And I don't mean that in a woo way. I mean it in a habit building way. Just like when people would put rubber bands on the wrists to stop themselves from smoking, that rubber band's not doing anything, but the focus, the reminder, and the ability to kind of snap themselves every time they feel that urge until they are able to build the habit and the associations in their brain, that works. That actually legitimately works. So I think literally anything is the same. Anything you choose to imbue with that power for you, and I don't mean like an actual mystical power, unless that's how you want to interpret it and that's how, you know, it works for you in your head. But anything you choose to have be the stand-in, have be the representative, if you keep doing that, if you keep thinking like that, you're going to build that connection in your head. That's just what we do as humans. You know, we make connections and we hold to them, and they will always, you'll have something that happens to you as a kid that feels significant to you specifically, and no one else might have that significance. You know, you might have some memory associated with strawberries, and anyone else is going to look at a strawberry and think, a strawberry, and you're going to think of that memory. That's just what we do as humans. Even though listening to the guided meditations can feel really kind of silly or cheesy, or listening to a podcast or an audiobook, watching a Reiki ASMR or meditation ASMR or absurd roleplay where you're a robot, any of that, it doesn't matter what it is. It matters what you're willing to allow it to be, basically. I hope that's making sense. It's probably not, but I hope it is. I guess what I'm saying is, even if things seem silly, they work if you let them. You know, they aren't going to cure your cancer. Don't rely on them to the exclusion of actually getting help for things. But when it comes to kind of calming you down, clearing your mind, building a habit, things will work if you let them work. That's my belief. One of my biggest suggestions, and also probably the hardest for all of you, but also what I think is going to have the absolute most benefit, other than building a lifelong kind of self-care routine, is stepping away from social media. I'm not saying you have to do it permanently, but I will say I went 4 years without a phone. When my last contract ended, decided that I was just gonna like take a month or so to research what kind of phone I wanted and who I wanted to sign a contract with. I thought that would be it, just a couple of weeks. And after a few weeks, after I'd kind of broken the habit of having a phone, I realized that I didn't miss it. The mental space that freed up not having a phone, I never wanted to go back. I only recently, within the last year, got a phone again, and it was because I had to, for work. And most days I miss not having a phone. I think it's really harmful to our brains, the kind of current state of things where people feel that you're supposed to be constantly accessible to them. People get irritated with you if you don't answer a text immediately. And I think that's such an unhealthy state of being that we have right now. I realize it's not practical for everyone to give up their phone or, you know, not answer emails for weeks or years or whatever. And I'm not advocating that you do that, but I'm saying start dialing back the amount of time that you spend online. Try to minimize all of the doom scrolling that you do on Twitter and on Facebook, because my God, that is unhealthy, and it's never going to end. You're just going to constantly have the barrage of people who are criticizing and dogpiling on something, and then the next wave of people who are going to criticize and dogpile on the original criticizers and dogpilers. That is never going to stop. That was a lovely text from a friend. Good timing. Especially after talking about anti-phone stuff. That was a sign from the universe. Anyway, all of the constant voices, all of the constant other people's noise in our heads, I think is the #1 contributor to anxiety. Honestly. And I know that's just the world that we live in now, but what I'm advocating is that you just be more mindful of it, realize that it's not great for you and that you probably don't enjoy it all that much, and start recognizing that. So when you're getting anxious, you can say, like, you know what, it is okay if I just put down the phone for a little while, or if I just close my browser and don't open it up again. I know we feel like we have to know everything that's going on, that it's irresponsible if we don't know everything that's going on and that we're not, up to date with things, but it will still be there. The news will still be there. The anger and the vitriol are still going to be there, and it's okay and needed for you to take a break from that. You can't deplete all of your energy, all of your reserves, and then expect to still be able to keep fighting the good fight. If you're worried about the end of democracy or something, what battle you're going to win if you're worn down, I kind of compare it to crops. You're a crop, okay? You've seen the meme about you're basically a plant and you need sunlight and you need water. You also need a period of lying fallow. A crop is going to take everything that it needs from the soil, and if that's never replenished, eventually that soil is going to be barren. It's not going to be able to support the crop anymore. Typically, what farmers will do is they will replenish the soil as best they can, plant cover crops, whatever, and they will also let fields lie fallow, where you just don't expect production from that for a while. You want to let it just replenish itself. You have to do the same thing. You can't be productive all the time, and you can't be productive when your reserves are empty. And there are so many people that are trying so hard to be right now, and they feel like, especially in the early stages of the pandemic, where there were memes going around about you're not doing whatever it was that you have said you always wanted to do. It's not that you lacked the time, it's that you lacked the motivation. Well, no, we're in the middle of a fucking pandemic, okay? Time isn't just time. Time to do things isn't just, I've got some free time right now. It's I've got some free time and some energy and the resources monetarily, physically, mentally, emotionally to do the thing. And the support system to allow me to do the thing. We don't have that right now. We literally just have the time. That's the only thing. So just understand that you do need fallow time. You need the step away from all the bullshit, allowed to not think about it, allowed to not produce, allowed to not care about every single thing at every single moment, and just reset. And resetting takes time. This is not like you just need to take a nap, Sometimes this can be like weeks of resetting, or setting aside, the end of every night is no technology, no media, until your brain is able to recover from it, because this is a constant onslaught and you do need recovery time. That was the single most immediate thing for me. I don't even think I finished the story. I didn't have a phone for a while, and then I also didn't have internet for a while. I didn't miss either one, except for nominally. Every now and then I would think about wishing I could Google something, or wanting to make a video and wishing it was easier. I would just, make things and go to the library, and it was a pain in the ass, but the way I felt was so different without all of it. I felt fresher, I felt more awake and young, and not full of energy necessarily, but full of vitality in a way that I think you don't feel when you're being dragged down by all of the noise around us all of the time. I know it's hard. I know it's hard to step away, and I know a lot of you feel like it's not even something you would want to do. You enjoy scrolling through Twitter, you like being on Instagram, whatever, but even if you don't think that it's affecting you, it is. And even if you miss it, you're going to come back renewed, and things are going to be more enjoyable again. I talked in a video a few videos back about how I hadn't been reading, and everything just felt kind of uninteresting. I wasn't interested. I didn't want to do it. And having a long kind of break from it, but also using that time to reassess my priorities and rebuild my energy stocks and focus on my health and not what I needed to do, and not all of these books, you know, clamoring at me to be read. It has having that space away from it has allowed me to come back to it with a renewed love, and I'm reading again and I'm loving it again, and I have kind of rediscovered my approach, or reinvented my approach maybe, and it's just allowed me to be happier with it all. So consider giving yourself breaks. Consider, you know, built-in breaks, whether it's no scrolling through my phone, you know, for an hour before I go to bed at night, or tech-free Sunday, or whatever it is. Just even recognizing the signs of when you're starting to feel anxious and saying, okay, I'm going to put everything down, I'm going to close it all, and I'm going to go for a 15-minute walk. No tech, just me breathing some nice air in the sunshine. Whatever it is, I think acknowledging that you need that space away and then taking it when you need it, probably one of the most beneficial things you can do. And one of the biggest self-care things. I think we tend to conflate self-care with skincare, and we're like, I'm just going to put on a face mask and everything's going to be great. And while I do advocate for skincare and for taking those kind of like loving yourself rituals, I think those are great for your mental health. You don't have to buy into the consumerism of them in order to give yourself self-care. Spending a few minutes in the sunshine and getting your vitamin D is self-care. Walking away from your racist uncle's rant on Facebook is self-care. Pretending you don't see your neighbor's Trump sign, self-care. Okay, I know this video has been really long, probably way longer than I intended it to be. I'm going to talk about one more thing. I'm sure there's so much more we could talk about, so maybe we'll have like a follow-up video. You guys can talk about it in the comments, and I'll gather your ideas, and we'll have a round two if you want. But the last thing I want to talk about is journaling. So this is kind of a two-pronged thing. In a video that just went up, if I'm being a good vlogger and doing what I intend to do, because it should be going up today, I talked about bullet journaling. I don't think you necessarily have to do bullet journaling, but I will say that having a planner, even in the midst of quarantine, when you're like, what am I doing with my life? I have nothing to plan. Having a planner and planning just some normal ass shit into your life, it gives you structure where you're feeling a little bit like you're spiraling, or your days are all blending together, or what is the point of anything anymore? So I think that's very beneficial. I think the trick is to not get caught up in feeling like you have to plan every single thing, or actually to know who you are and what you need. So spend some time with that and actually really try to analyze yourself a little bit and be honest with yourself and what is going to be beneficial to you. For some people, planning out literally everything. I'm going to get up at this time, I'm going to eat breakfast, I'm going to take a shower at this time, I'm going to do the laundry. Some people need that and really thrive with that. Others would feel so boxed in and claustrophobic by that that's not going to work for them. But still having an idea of where the day is going, or the week is going, or just some things that are on the horizon is hugely beneficial, especially when you're feeling anxious, because it can be so hard to remember things when you're anxious. I tend to remember things at the most inopportune moment. So I can be like, oh, I need to get online and pay the cable today. And I will think that for literally like 10 days in a row, and then it's like 3 days late and I'm like, why the fuck? Why didn't I pay it? Like, I thought it, but I'll think it when I'm busy doing something else. I'm cooking dinner and I'll be like, oh, I need to do that. And then I will not think of it again until the next time that it's an inopportune moment. And I'll do that with everything. So just jotting a note down and having kind of a place, a go-to place like a journal, where I know the list is, where I can just put it all down, not have it spinning in there, keeping me up at night being like, well, you didn't do that. You meant to do that and you didn't do that. But also knowing that it's written down, I'm not going to forget about it. And when I am going through my day, I can look at it and be like, oh yeah, we need to do these things today. I'm going to go ahead and do them. It kind of acts as your personal assistant. You act as your own sort of backup. You're your own wingman by just taking a little bit of time, devoting 10, 15, 20 minutes to just sitting down, thinking about it, getting it all out so that it's not in your head, adding to the anxiety, and then having it available so that your anxiety doesn't keep you from being productive and then giving you more anxiety. It just, trust me when I say how beneficial it is. Just give yourself that little bit of structure when you're feeling anxious. Seriously. The part 2 of that is just actually journaling. So not necessarily planner type of journaling, but just writing down what you need to. Especially if you can't see a therapist or you don't have someone to confide in. Even if you hate the idea of journaling or it seems silly or you feel like you're whining. I'm trying to teach myself tarot for a reason. I'm not going to talk about that right now, but there's a plan that I have, and I need to know certain things. So we're not going to get into all that, but I decided a way that I would teach myself is to have a little journal, one of my many notebooks, kind of devoted to it, and I would pull a card or do a spread or whatever and write down what it is, what all those things mean, and how I can sort of apply that to a situation or to how I'm feeling or the coming week, whatever it is, as a way to kind of learn the cards and learn the messaging behind them for a project that I'm doing. And what I realized in doing this is that it actually became really therapeutic for me. Not just making the connections and kind of having the focus like I was talking about with the sort of crystals and other woo things, but having those sort of prompts that the cards give you, but also that I was, in doing this daily, I was able to kind of see patterns forming and see thought processes that I was having that were not great. I could see them right there on the page, and I can confront them. But also, the process of writing whatever it was that I was making the connection of, once it was out, even if it felt really negative or really absurd and really over the top as I was writing it, or even if I hated it as I was writing it, once it was out, it was out. It was like I could breathe. I know this is something that people have talked about with journaling for a long time. Just getting it out, same as writing down the things that you need to get done, it gives you space in your head, because that was taking up space. That was taking up space, that was taking up energy. Even if you weren't focusing on it, it's still there in the back of your head. So once it's out and your brain is like, oh, we don't actually have to focus on that right now because we know where it is and we can go to it if we need it, it's like clearing out the cobwebs, it helps. And if you are afraid that you're going to go back and dwell on those things and you're going to read those entries over and over, or someone's going to find it and you're going to be afraid to confide or something in your journal, I recommend writing things down and then burning them. Write a letter. If someone is someone in your family is driving you out of your mind, or you're so angry at your ex or whatever, write them a letter and burn it safely. Don't burn your house down. Let it go. Write it and let it go. It's incredibly freeing. I said that was the last one, but I lied. This one's gonna be really quick, but my last thing that I recommend is trying to give yourself a self-care routine. So I talked about, we tend to conflate it with skincare, but honestly do that too. Hey, you filled my entire fucking memory card. Anyway, what I was saying was, what was I saying? It can be really easy to say you don't have time, or when you are depressed especially, to say that you don't have the energy, and I fully understand that. Even if you have to start small, even if it's just taking an extra 5 minutes in the morning, or when you come home from work, just to decompress, just sitting in the car and listening to one song that you love, just starting somewhere to carve back time for you, sort of begin the process of identifying what it is that you need that makes you feel better, and developing it into a ritual, I think is so important. So maybe every Wednesday and Sunday you try to have a little self-pampering night where you take a bubble bath, or have a face mask, or sit with a cup of tea and a cookie and a book, whatever it is, having it be part of your routine, not an occasional treat, but a regular carved out part of your routine. Put it in your bullet journal, put it on your calendar. I'm going to take myself out for lunch at the park on Tuesdays. Whatever it is, just having an acknowledged space for you, to focus on you, to care about yourself. Make it a routine. It's an acknowledgement that you deserve it, and it's beneficial to your mental health, your physical health, your skin health, whatever it is that you're trying to do. But making it regular makes it a habit, and that, I think, snowballs. Once you start to kind of feel better from doing things, from caring for yourself, you start to realize not only that things will make you feel better, that it's not all bad, but also you start to acknowledge what it is that's making you feel worse, so that you can start eliminating some of those things. And you realize that the reason you're feeling so bad, it's not because there's something wrong with you, and it's not because you deserve to feel this way. You can acknowledge that things are bad, and sometimes that just happens, and you deserve to feel better, and that you are capable of making yourself feel better. Again, this is not a substitute for getting help if you have severe depression, and sometimes you can't make yourself feel better if you have severe depression. That's chemicals. But when it's external forces, taking the time for yourself, acknowledging that you are important, even if everyone in your life wants you to do things for you or for them, you've got kids you have to take care of and you feel like you have to be a martyr for them. You are a human who has worth, who deserves to feel good, and you're allowed to carve out that time for yourself and to carve out that space for mental health. So that is my final tip of this video. Make it priority, make it a habit, make it routine that you just sit with yourself and take care of yourself and give yourself a little buffer from the rest of the world on a regular basis. That is what I suggest. So that is all for this very, very long video. Please leave your tips and your go-tos for dealing with depression or anxiety, things that help make you calm, things that help make you feel a little hygge, whatever it is. Leave those in the comments. Let's chat, let's lift each other up and support each other and give each other tools for the toolbox. And if you want to see more videos like this, more tea chats and life chats on this or any other topic, let me know that in the comments as well. But this has been plenty long enough. I'm sorry, and I'm aware, but thank you guys for sitting with me if you made it through, and looking forward to loving on you in the comments. But that's all for now. Thank you guys for watching. Dang it, I just realized I missed a really good chance to record this as an ASMR video. Especially since I promoted ASMR in this video.